Five Chickens Productions presents 365 Days of Jung with Dr. J. Mark Dyke.
Today is day 12 of 365 Days of Jung, and the topic today is compassion. Compassion, it turns out, is the most powerful place to be psychologically because we're no longer at the effect of others. Compassion, in my way of thinking about it, is realizing that we're actually the same as the other person, that we have the exact same traits, and it's okay that we share that with them. We have it, and we accept it in ourselves, and we accept it in them. Now, Jung talked about, he said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So based on that, there's a process that I like that has been very helpful to me. In the first step of this process, I journal, I let myself rant and rave about who and what is irritating me, okay? First step, unprocessed, really not meant to be shared with others. You want to let yourself be as petty and bitchy and complainy and whiny and ranty as you want to be, okay? Now, for me, we're going to work on this simple thing of there are students who really think they know better. You as an instructor should do something this way, not that way. Well, why didn't you do this? Why aren't you doing that? And they'll point it out in class. I find it incredibly irritating, okay? So, that's first step. Let yourself journal. This can go on for minutes, as long as you need it to. Just let yourself rant and rave on paper. This is the literal, concrete level. Now, in Jungian psychology, we're always trying to remove from the concrete literal and pull out the symbolic of it. So the second step is this. What is the trait that bugs me so much? And that trait is a kind of a criticalness, a kind of I know better than you. Okay? So I identify the trait, and there may be lots of traits, but I would recommend just picking one trait, like I just did. You know, this criticalness, which has to do with I know better. Maybe that's two traits. So we have these traits. Now, staying in the symbolic, I want to think about, well, what is the image of that? So the image of that comes out is this woman who's pointing her finger at me, long finger with a long fingernail that's painted, and she's got green snakes coming out of her head, and fire in her eyes, and maybe some ragged, sharp teeth, okay? So this is this image, Methuselah sort of, right? She is incredible bitchy. So for some reason, this criticalness is feminine for me. Now, here's this image. So my job now is to make friends with this image, with this symbolic trait. So it's not the person I'm having trouble with, it's the trait. So my job is to make friends with it. So the next step in this is think about, well, what is good about this criticalness, this I know better than you? Well, it could be informative. There could be some information that is pointing out some weaknesses in my teaching strategies. God knows there's lots of those. So it's pointing out this weakness that I can learn from. So there's something good about it, right? What's bad about it? Well, what I don't like about it is it can tend to also send the message that I as a being am no good, that I as a being am not valuable. So that's hard about it. That's what's not so good about it, okay? Now, I've gone from the literal, and I've pulled out some of the symbolic, and I end up with this critical Methuselah. And now I want to invite Methuselah into my boat, okay? My boat is a metaphor for my psyche, right? So right now Methuselah is swimming around out there, and I want her to climb into the boat. Now, there's all kinds of traits and creatures in my boat, thousands of them. And so I just want to add her to this mixture, just like I'm making a cake. I've got flour and salt and sugar, and now I'm going to add pepper, okay? Makes sense that she might be pepper or chili pepper. So I'm going to add her to the ingredients and stir it up. They're going to impact each other, right? So how do I do that? My identity may say, no, I'm not like that. Or I'm not like that as much as they are. So I want to think about, what about all the times in my life when I've done what these students are doing? I think back, wow, yeah. I mean, there was a time when I was in a training with thousands of people in this gigantic hall, and some professors from Rice came, and they gave us this survey. It was a terrible survey. And I stood up and explained to them why their survey was so bad, why it was so biased, why it made everyone feel bad, which was in itself unethical. I raked them over the coals and essentially got kicked out of the conference. Like, get out, we don't want to hear it. And so, and when I look back, I think, yeah, I was actually right. But it was so critical, and I so thought I knew better than these professors from Rice. Now, they could have taken some of that information and actually done something with it that was valuable. But the point was, I have done that many, many times to people who are kind of in this role of teacher. So this Methuselah, this criticalness, I probably go through the day thinking, geez, whoever came up with the streetlights and the way that they're, the way they operate, they're just really dumb streetlights. They're not smart. So I know better than that. So I may know better than people right and left in my life. Now, I want to acknowledge this quality of I know better. You should do it this way. This is the kind of criticalness. I know better. I want to acknowledge that. I want to embrace it into my personality. Oh yeah, I'm like that. Take a breath. It's okay. It's all right. I know better. I'm just like that. So I'm no longer pointing the finger at people who have that trait that of I know better than you. I'm now like, we're in this together. I also have this trait. And what I want to do is I want to completely embrace it and accept it into my psyche, into my boat, okay? And I want to let it seep into my body. I want my body to acknowledge that I have this trait. So it's not just a mental thing. My attitudes are in my body. So I want to get my body to acknowledge, yeah, you're a know-it-all. You know better. I know better all the time. There's so many situations, I know better, I know how it should be done. I want to acknowledge it, and I want to embrace it and accept it like a child. I don't want to throw it into the basement and give it no attention. I want to accept it, okay? So I'm going to spend time today looking at all the times that I think I know better, right? And maybe even specifically with looking at people like, so the dean of the school, or the mayor of the city, or all these people who are in these roles who have big things to do and that impact me, and can I accept that I am playing this role of I know better than you, and you should do it this way. Now, so I'm accepting Methuselah into my psyche. Now what I'm not doing is I'm not giving myself permission to be critical of others. That's going back into the literal. The idea is this: if I can integrate these opposites, and I'm assuming that there's an ingredient within my boat that does not think it knows better. Okay? So maybe that's the inferior ingredient, or maybe it's just an ingredient that I don't know better than this person. Who am I? And I'm accepting this ingredient, I do know better, into my boat. So that's happening on the symbolic level. It's not giving myself permission to go back into the literal and be critical. In fact, it's the opposite. What happens is with the integration of opposites, now I have some wisdom and compassion. And so hopefully I will treat people with compassion and wisdom, because I won't be motivated by this irritation, by this essentially projection of my a trait I don't like onto them. They have their trait, they have the trait, I have the trait. Now I've given it extra power because I've put my trait on them. Okay? So just a quick review. 1, let yourself, this is what I do. I let myself rant and rave about what's bugging me, what's irritating me. 2, what is the trait that's bugging me? 3, is there an image for it? 4, how can I accept that image into my boat? And I literally see Methuselah with her pointy fingers climbing into this boat. It's a little scary. 5, have I already lived out that? Can I convince my identity that, oh yeah, I really am like that? Okay. 6, this is not to say, oh, I got you. See, you're such and such. No, it's to embrace it into my identity and accept it and say it's okay. But it's no longer out there on them. Now it's increasing my self-knowledge. Now I understand something more about myself, and my personality is a little bigger, which gives me compassion, which now, when I meet these students, when I meet other people who I see living out that trait, I can have some compassion for that trait in them. So this is the end of day 12. Signing out. Have a good day.